And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chief Executive Officer for Looker, Frank Bien.
I get to say it this year. Welcome to Join 2019. Awesome. Thanks for coming. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of your schedules to come and talk data with us for a little while. How many people here, just out of curiosity, are from outside the U.S., so international travelers this year? Wow, that's a lot more than last year. How about just outside of the Bay Area? Planes, trains, and automobiles. All right. And how about the local people? How many Bay Area people? Woo! All right. Now, for the Bay Area people, or really anybody who came to San Francisco a lot, how many people know the historical significance of this building? All right, not many. Now, you might have thought historical significance, this building was a Honda dealership for the last 20 years. I almost bought a minivan where the registration booth is, like literally. But the historical significance was actually much greater. Obviously, everyone knows about the Haight-Ashbury time in San Francisco, big music scene, et cetera. But from 1968 to 1971, Bill Graham, the famous music producer, moved the Fillmore from where it is up on Geary in Fillmore to here. And that was actually the time that the most interesting bands, and probably still to this day, the most famous bands of all time, played in this room, like literally here up on the roof. I mean, that was Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Aretha Franklin, Fleetwood Mac. Allen Ginsberg read poetry up here, Elton John. So it's a little humbling to be here in this room. And if you're wondering why the music is a little odd, like my walk-on music, and Led Zeppelin, yes, they did play in this very room. So it's really cool to be, having experiences here, making memories here, like I'm sure people did, maybe influenced by other things, in the late 60s. But really, really, it's going to be a great show. And I would love to say that we will make this show as good as a, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Elton John concert. That would be hard. That's a high bar. But I will make it 100 times better than buying a used car. Dun, dun. I'm here all week. And the way we're going to do that is by being content focused. And I think what we hear, we do a lot of surveys, we're a data company, a lot of surveys at the end of every join, and we really listen to what you're saying. So we really doubled down on content this year. We have over 100 speakers at Join this year across all of our stages, downstairs and up here. That's 3 times the number of sessions that last year, and 85% of those sessions are you. So you're the rock stars. You're actually sharing information with each other, 85% customer speakers and people who are actually using Looker. And that's while we really only grew the show by 30%. So we've always capped attendance on Join. We want to make it a more intimate gathering, really keep the size of it down to have the quality up. And we also added 6 times the number of labs. So last year we heard the labs were great, let's have more. So we increased attendance a bit, but we really doubled down on the hands-on labs. And I think that was made possible, and Jen will talk about this a little bit later, through just awesome partner support and sponsorships. So our sponsorships grew 43%. We really love the developer content here at Join this year. It started yesterday with the hackathon. I know we had some kind of Wi-Fi internet outage here on the block, but it was awesome to see everyone down there. I think we had almost 200 people. How many people were at the hackathon yesterday? Awesome. I mean, there were no seats down there at all. And to support that, we have a great developer track through today and tomorrow. It'll kick off this afternoon with the developer welcome session. So really a lot of focus there. The goal at the end of the day is that you can leave here, if you're in that track, capable of building new data experiences and data applications. And we also have a certification program that we've been running for a couple of years now that involves a test and getting Looker certified. And for the first time, We actually included that in the joint admission, so we have about 150 of you who are going to take a couple hours. It's a non-trivial test to become Looker certified, either on LookML development or as a certified business analyst. So good luck to everyone who's going to take those tests. At the same time, we have a great track for those of you who are building data programs, who are trying to drive transformation in your organization through the use of data. We call that the data leadership track, and that'll be kicked off as well with the data leadership forum. I think Daniel Mintz is going to lead a forum on that this afternoon as well. So lots of great content, as good as a Jimi Hendrix show, I think. Looker has had a great year, and I'll talk a little bit about the Google acquisition here in a bit, but we have really grown a lot this year. A little bit of state of the business. Last year at Join, we had about 550 employees. This year, a year later, we're 1,000 employees, so the company has grown a lot. Interestingly, the customer count, while it's gotten much larger, we're over 2,000, 30% now are international. So we really focused on supporting international in the last, couple of years and have seen that take off. And I think a lot of the growth is due, obviously, to the product and how we're solving the problem, but also in the last year, we really focused on some specific things that contributed to that growth. If you've been reading any of our stuff lately, we're really focused on multi-cloud and moving, Looker technologies and allowing them to run wherever you want them to run, and doubling down on database dialect support. So we're now supporting 47 database dialects, and there'll be a lot in the product roadmap and product sessions about that. For the last couple years, we've also talked a ton about data experiences, data applications, new ways that people are using Looker to solve business problems in their organizations. And as of now, 50%, 1 in 2 of you are using Looker beyond our core BI capabilities to solve these other things that we're really wrapping data around specific business processes and providing unique experiences for our user. So, that's a huge, huge step up for people who are doing that. And, Looker has grown. I mean, we've grown in a lot of ways, but that's been led by our revenue growth. This is actually our real revenue chart. It's not like the picture in a picture frame when you buy it. This is the real one. Now, we've anonymized it, and the reason that I put it here is because we really have grown very nicely across all of our business segments. So we have our SMB and mid-market accounts for smaller customers. We have the mid-sized commercial accounts, and we have the large enterprise accounts. And all of those segments have grown really nicely. And that's important because it allows us to invest across all of those segments. So we're building a lot and have a lot on the roadmap for big enterprise customers. And we also have a lot for the smaller customers. And that's really supported by the growth across all of those business segments. Rest assured, we are just getting started. We talk a lot internally about where we're going at Looker and as part of Google and all those things in the future. And I explain it like this. I say we're like on chapter 2 of a 20-chapter book. I mean, this is really just the start. We have a lot of things that we have to go do. There's a lot of stuff that Lloyd and the engineering and product teams have come up with that we still need to deliver on. And we're going to be focused on doing that over the next years to come. And I think that's important because the industry is going through a lot of change. I would say, there's been a lot of transition in data and analytics over the last couple years, and we have to deliver solutions to help support that. So I wanted to take a step back now and maybe just talk a little bit about this industry in transition. There's some big trends that are happening that I think we all have to grapple with, and some of these you may agree with, some you might see others, but really, these are the ones as Looker that we're seeing that we need to understand and build product and solutions around. And this pace of change, I believe, is actually accelerating. And one of the big acceleration points is the shift to the cloud. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper than just the big moniker shift to cloud. Everybody knows that. We really are seeing beyond that a shift in data gravity. Like, data is in the cloud now. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's happened. In industries that we didn't think were going to happen, healthcare, financial services, people are moving to the cloud for a lot of reasons, agility, stuff like that. And that's backed up by a $500 billion spend in the next couple years by 2023 in cloud infrastructure. $500 billion. So, okay, we have workload now that's moved to the cloud. But interestingly, if you would have asked me 5 or 10 years ago, I would have said, well, that's going to add a lot of agility, but it's also going to add a lot of centralization. Like we'll centralize a lot of data in the cloud. And what's actually happened is exactly the opposite. We fragmented data as it's moved in the cloud. So we have our core workloads from the data center that moved to the cloud, and now we've invested heavily in SaaS business applications. So we have our Salesforce and our Workday and our ServiceNow and our Marketo and our Namely and our Exactly and all of these different SaaS applications that each have a part of the business data contained within them. Netscope does a survey, I think once a year, where they look at the average number of SaaS applications deployed in different types of organizations. And the average enterprise today has 1,100 SaaS applications deployed internally. Looker, we're barely 1,000 people. We have over 200 SaaS business applications deployed. And each of those has a little bit of the piece of the puzzle of the picture of how we're doing as a business. And we have to bring that data together to understand our posture and where we're going and how we're doing. Now, there's a bit of help on the horizon. I think the other thing that we're seeing is that databases are getting bigger and faster and better. And Gartner now is saying by 2022, 75% of database workload will be deployed in the cloud. 75% will be there. And that's all database stuff. That's transactional databases, analytic databases, all of the different types of databases, including all the big data, Hadoop infrastructure. Now, interestingly, they believe the big driver of that is the analytic database. So Looker made a bet very early that analytic databases would get faster and faster and faster, and it was our job to take advantage of that technology, to really unleash that speed and performance so that we could build better solutions for our business users. And I think this 75% being moved to the cloud, and really the stuff in the cloud being bigger, better, and faster, is allowing us to start to address some of this fragmentation that's going on in business applications, because we can pull that data back together into analytic databases. And that's clearly something that Looker's focused on from the start. The second big trend is that traditional BI as we knew it 5 and 10 years ago is disappearing. Right now, the annual growth rate of traditional BI platforms is actually shrinking. So the market is shrinking. It's about 3% less every year. So we see the big traditional BI platforms not being used so much in the cloud. And I think the reason for that is if you look at the top 7, what you'd call BI or data visualization platforms, the average age of those products now is 28 and a half years old. I mean, these are things that were developed, and they were great technologies, but they were developed not only before the cloud, but before big, fast databases. I mean, they were really built around the idea of offloading workload on transactional systems. So I think, this is another trend that we have to deal with. We can't use the same tools that we were using in the past. And the third big kind of mega trend is that users in our business does not want the same thing that we were doing yesterday. They want more. They constantly want more. They want to use data more and more to solve business problems in their organizations and really bring the power of all this stuff that they've been investing in to bear for efficiency in our organizations. Forrester calls this insight-driven business analytics. And really, as we look at that, what we're talking about is taking, not just dashboards and static reporting and things like that and applying it to what we have done in the past, but really allowing users to work in data to do their jobs. So data isn't just informing what we did, it's becoming how we work, right? It's the idea of a data application. And I think that really allows us to move into using data to do our job versus looking in the rearview mirror. And we've seen you all deploy some really interesting solutions here, and I think in a lot of the breakouts, people will be actually showing this and demoing it and talking about it. But a few examples to reiterate what I'm talking about. You know, we have a lot of you now who are using our Powered by Looker technology, PBL, our embedding technology. And one of the interesting ways that we see repeatedly Looker being used is building client portals. So now we have our customers and clients that we want to show the value that we're bringing to them. We want to have transparency into how we're performing as we're doing work for them. So if you were to think about like an ad agency, they may want to provide, you know, portals to their clients that show them, hey, we're being very efficient with our ad spend and we're seeing really big results. And that is always shown through data, right? I mean, it's providing the data that shows the value that we're bringing and ultimately greatly increasing the transparency we have. We have a number of you who are actually taking data and embedding it directly in the work stream and how people are doing their job day to day. I think about advertising buy bots, bid bots. So we have a lot of people who are taking Looker and understanding how ads are performing and actually adjusting bids on ads in real time, you know, using this data. You know, so really I'm not thinking of that as traditional BI. I'm thinking of that much more as part of the work process. And then I think to have a real platform, you know, Looker as a platform, we have to have some of you doing stuff that we never thought about. And we do see that quite a bit now. So, you know, we have like large retailers who are using Looker to really provide much more granular access to security data in their infrastructure. So if you think about, I want to just start collecting all my event data, my application data, and rather than putting it in like a proprietary security tool, more and more people are just landing it in big data infrastructure. And now Looker has been used as a layer on top of that to provide this access to the security teams so that they can better understand vulnerabilities and threats and react to them. You know, really interesting ways that people are using data. So again, I mean, we are an industry in transition. We've seen this shift to cloud, and it's probably as much a fragmentation as anything else. We've seen that the traditional tools that we have used in the past aren't really carrying forward. And we also see that users don't want the same thing. They want new stuff, better stuff, more part of the business process in the future. And that's really what resulted in our combination with Google and Google Cloud. So I think, you know, Google was seeing these same trends, and we had actually been partnered with them for quite a while, and really drove Thomas Kurian, who was the CEO of Google Cloud, to approach us and say, hey, let's bring the companies together. Now, we had been approached by others in the past, and I think really we weren't particularly looking to be acquired, but as we looked at these big mega trends and how we could better address them as part of a larger organization, it became really interesting to Lloyd and I. And actually, Lloyd will come out in a little bit with me, and we're going to talk about this. But as I think about the rationale for it, I'd break it into 3 buckets. One, I love the idea of bringing a lot of great minds in data together to solve these problems. You know, as I think of Google, I think of a company that really understands data and how to use it. And as we apply that to the business, it becomes really compelling. So, you know, AI, ML, natural language, those kind of things combined with our attention on business analytics is really, really exciting. But that's not enough to justify bringing companies together. I think the much bigger thing to us was this shared culture. Both of us have a lot of culture around sort of, you know, provide a great environment for employees, and you can provide really, really compelling solutions and successful solutions for your customers. And that's the core of Looker culture. And I think that's shared with Google, and that was really the driver behind, you know, actually moving forward with the thing. And then lastly, it's all about broad reach. You know, Looker was starting to invest very heavily in international expansion and more sales teams, really growing very quickly. And the idea now to leapfrog and have thousands of feet on the street, so to speak, is really, really exciting to us. So I think all these things are coming together, and we'll be talking about specifically the Google thing, you know, a little bit more. But before that, I want to take a little bit more time on these big mega trends and what's happening in the industry. And I think, you know, to do that, it would make sense to bring up an expert in the space. So I'm going to bring up Hyun Park. And Hyun has been looking at this space for 20 years, really understands some of these trends, and can take a step back and really say, hey, this is what we think is happening. So I'll turn it over to Hyun.